He's Britain's most famous amateur astronomer. He has to say amateur. She's equally at home on other planets, and to prove it, has this week published at the age of 88 her first book entitled Mrs. Moore in Space. Ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Moore and his mum. Why the insistence on amateur? Just before we went on air, you said you must call him amateur.
Well, I am an amateur astronomer, don't forget. I'm not officially attached to anything. I'm not attached to any kind of observatory or educational establishment. Therefore, I'm purely an amateur.
I see. Do you think he's an amateur, Mrs. Moore?
He says so.
You're not backing me up, dear.
Do you think you're going to get a word in edgeways tonight?
I hope not.
You hope not? Why, he does talk a bit, doesn't he?
It'd be much better for everybody if he did the talking. Right?
No, far from it.
No, I don't know about that. Would you, just before we talk about this remarkable book that you've published, what do you think when you watch Patrick on television? I know that when I've done a program with him before, and people sort of criticise his appearance, say that he's sort of untidy and things.
Please. Always has been.
Really?
Always will be.
Really?
Thank you, dear.
Yes, I think so.
Why is that, do you think?
Except when I hide your clothes.
Yes, I remember that episode when I got caught on This Is Your Life, and I was going down to stay in Devon with a great friend of mine who's here tonight, I may say, and I wanted to go down in my disreputable get up, and I couldn't find them. And Mother said, "Why don't you wear the are, dear? You have to go in your suit, won't you?" She'd hidden a lot, of course.
To make sure that you turned up properly attired.
Absolutely.
I see. But you don't care about clothes, do you, Patrick?
Well, I don't know. I mean, they're things to wear.
Well, that's obvious, but I mean, do you think they're necessary?
Well, I think it would cause a great deal of alarm and despondency if one didn't wear them.
That's probably true.
I mean, have you ever tried it?
No, I haven't. No. Have you?
No.
No. There's not much left in that conversation, is there?
Not since I was 2 or 3 months old. I think I probably did. Ask Mother.
Yes.
I don't know what you need then.
I'm very always had a dirty nappy or a scruffy nappy or something like that.
But Patrick wouldn't mind if he went out wrapped in newspaper from worry him.
It wouldn't worry him at all. No. What part of you've always been interested in astronomy, haven't you?
I've always been interested, very vaguely.
Really? What first of all interested you in it then?
Well, I think I must have been about 2 or 3 years old.
Really?
And I remember quite clearly, I don't know where I was coming from or where I was going, being held up in my nurse's arms, so I'm not very old, and looking up at the sky and seeing the stars. It was a lovely starlight night. And from that time on, I've always liked to get through.
Really? And you encouraged Patrick to...
I did, because I thought it was a good, healthy hobby, as I thought. And
you seem to have reservations about it, as you
there was
thought.
always plenty to learn.
Yes, indeed. What do you remember about your mother's interest in astronomy, Patrick? Was this a starting point, in fact, of your...
Oh, completely. But the fact that she was interested and had a small telescope, actually not at the time I was born, but she'd been to East Africa, as you probably know,
yes.
And the telescope hadn't survived that, I don't think. So there wasn't a telescope when I was young, but there were some books that Mother had when she was young and was interested in. And I very well remember, at the age of 6, picking up one of the books that was hers. It was in the bookshelf, and I happened to be bored. I picked it up, I looked at it. It was a book called The Story of the Solar System by G.F. Chambers that you must have had when you were a girl, dear. And I read it through, and it fascinated me, because she gave me all the encouragement in the world.
How old were you then, Patrick?
6.
Six years old.
6.
I see.
So I do owe it entirely to her.
Yes, indeed you do.
Both from picking up that book and from the encouragement she gave me from the very word go.
Yes.
And if she hadn't done, I certainly wouldn't be here.
How did the book, this present book, start? What was the idea for it, Mrs. Moore?
I think it must have been Patrick's idea, really, because I never thought of doing anything with my foolish little sketches.
I should explain, in fact, that the book is a collection of your drawings,
Yes.
paintings
Yes.
of imaginary things in outer space.
It came about, really, I think, from a complete stranger. I did a little program called, what was it
It was
called?
time to remember that Pat Wood produced and put on, but Pat Wood saw these drawings, was incredibly impressed by them, and put them on the air. So really, Pat Wood has had a very, very large part to play in this.
Yes.
And then I had a letter from a complete stranger, who it is I don't know, saying, what a pity these are not published so that people can see them. I thought no more about it, hence to this effect. And we thought, no, did you think about
I
it?
thought a lot about it, yes.
At the age of, that's his business. So at the age of 88, you published your first book.
I'm in my 89th year.
In your 89th year, I see. Well, let's have a look what we're talking about. It's some of these quite remarkable paintings. Now, could you, as they say on Match of the Day, Patrick, talk us through them, you know?
Well, certainly. Well, now, this is a representation of the planet Saturn. Well, as you know, Saturn is a giant planet, 75,000 miles in diameter, with a unique ring system. And I can see it through my own telescope, and it occurred to Mother it might be rather a good place for a track race. So, these creatures, which he calls bogies, and that little depressed bird that's always there.
Yes, well, we'll probably see that, actually, in the next one
about
that we have a look at. Yes. Now, if you look to the right of your picture there, to the right of the palm tree, you can see the little bird, which occurs in all your pictures, doesn't it?
Well, actually, my mother, you did this one this year, didn't you?
I did this only a matter of weeks ago.
Can we have a look at that one again, actually, just for a moment, Colin? Could you bang it up, or is that impossible? Because I wanted to ask you about those... Yes, there we are again. Thank you. The little men that we see sitting there. Now, your paintings in this book span 70 years or more, don't they?
Yes, not those particular ones.
But
some of them do.
Yes, some of those. But you always draw the same kind of... What do you call them?
Well, I call them my little people. I used to call them bogies,
I think I will call them bogies, yes. One thing I will say, they're always so delightfully pleasant. Even those that are obviously disapproving, they're still pleasant.
Yes. Where do you get the bogies from, though?
My imagination entirely.
Really? Was it a kind of nightmare thing that you had?
Not a nightmare. They're always so happy.
I see.
No, they're quite pleasant.
Well, in fact, they are very pleasant, because this next one, I think, it proves the point. Now, look at that bug-eyed monster there. Now, tell us about this one, Mrs. Moore. What's this?
It was meant to be Venus, what we thought Venus might be like. I should have mentioned I did that for a Christmas card.
No, you didn't, actually. I was giving a lecture somewhere, and there was the days when we thought that Venus was a world with a great deal of sea on it, and I said to you, will you draw me a scene upon Venus? And you proceeded to do this. And I actually showed that. It had been on television once before, many years ago, and somebody once wrote to me from Scotland, having seen that, and this was this particular picture, and said, Dear Mr. Moore, we were so interested in your program, how wonderful that you can really see those creatures with your own telescope. It was that actual picture. I'm glad you selected that one, Michael.
Yes, it's nice, actually. I'll tell you my favourite's coming up now. Have a look at this one.
That's an oldie. Now, that's an oldie. How long ago did you do that, Mother?
I haven't any idea why I did it. I think I must have done it just because I wanted to do it. But that was done before you were born.
Well, I'm 51 years old, and that was done a long time before that.
About 60 years ago.
More than that, it was certainly done before the First World War.
Yes, it's absolutely, it's beautiful, isn't it? As you said, it's pre-Disney, and it looks so much like a Disney character of a sort, doesn't it?
I often wonder what he's thinking about, that chap. There's another one in the book which shows him being offered a Christmas pudding.
Yes, you better ask your mother what he was thinking about. What was he thinking about?
Well, that's from the Christmas pudding one.
Well, the Christmas pudding one.
The Christmas pudding one I did for you for Christmas cards. You wanted a Christmas card.
Oh, that's right.
And I just thought he might like a pudding.